I adopted my cheating ex-girlfriend's kid, and now my sister hates me because the father is her ex-fiancé. Here's what happened. Subscribe to AmITheA on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications. Some feel that I, 32-year-old male, should have handled the situation differently, but I don't see how I'm wrong. Me and my sister, 37-year-old female, are not as close as we used to be because of some messed up stuff that happened years ago. I had my son Jesse, 9, pretty young. Months after that, to my surprise, my ex was pregnant again. Only I knew it wasn't me, because having an infant to take care of and provide for left me with zero interest in bed. And we found out it was my sister's now ex-fiancé that she had been seeing behind our backs. It hurt. Worst pain ever. But for my son's sake, I tried to get past it. I come from a family of half-siblings too, so I wanted my son to be close with his half-brother, Keith. Surprise, not only were they, my ex and my sister's ex, horrible lying cheaters, but also terrible parents. Both got hooked on substances, and it only escalated from there. He got locked up when Keith was 3. This particular issue with my sister happened a couple years ago. My ex got sick. She was scared of Keith ending up in foster care like her, and I didn't want that for him either. I legally adopted him before she passed when he was 6. Not everyone in my family was on board at first, but he's the kind of kid that's hard not to love, so they warmed up to him. My sister never did. She hated that I brought the son of her ex-fiancé into my family, and I understood why it was painful. But Keith and Jesse's best interests were my main priority. That's how we drifted apart. Last weekend was my birthday, and I had a small barbecue at my place. My parents have tried hard to mend things between us, so they convinced me to let her come too so we can chat. I thought that meant that she was cool with Keith, because obviously the 3 of us are a package deal. I asked my parents how she would feel about Keith. They said not to worry about it. Again, I took it as she came around. Only she wasn't told he would also be present. But how could he not be? He lives there. My sister got there and was mad when she saw him. She very specifically said, "I thought this was family only. What's he doing here?" Loud enough where he could have heard easily. But thankfully he was playing with his brother. My sister was ticked because my parents told her Keith wouldn't be around. And I got ticked when she told me she didn't want him here, expecting me to do something about it. So I just told her to leave, and she's not welcome here then. There was some back and forth from her and my parents. I didn't want that kind of talk around my son, so still made her leave. My mom seems to think I was a huge jerk for kicking her out of my party instead of trying to work things out. Like, they take Keith somewhere off-site while me and her talk. But to me, what's the point of us working it out if that's still how she feels toward my son? Well, this is still causing some conflict since I escalated the feud by making her leave instead of actually talking to her. Am I the jerk? Quite the opposite. You're willing to take in this kid who represents a lot of pain to you. You understand that it's not about what happened, and it's about what's best for the kid. And whether your sister likes it or not, he is related to your son. He's his half-brother. That makes him family. I can totally understand how this is a sensitive issue, but your sister needs to learn to work through those emotions. What else does she want you to do? Just put the kid in a foster home? Is that fair to him? Is she really gonna feel better knowing that he's going through that life? Why? Because his parents were jerks, so he deserves it? That's a horrible mentality to have. I wouldn't want someone bringing that kind of negative energy around my house either. Until she learns to accept the fact that he's gonna be around, like it or not, then she's not welcome there. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below. And don't forget to subscribe. My future mother-in-law stole my engagement ring, so I told her it was cursed. All of a sudden, it shows up again. I, female 26, just got engaged. My soon-to-be mother-in-law is a nightmare. We're currently renovating a part of our place, and she's been lent a key in the meantime because she keeps coming over uninvited under the guise of helping clean up. But she really just likes to snoop and interfere. I do martial arts and take my engagement ring off before class. I came home from an afternoon class one day and my engagement ring was not in the jewelry dish that I usually leave it in. I asked her about it and she told me she'd taken it to a jeweler to get it cleaned. She looked super smug about it, and when I asked which jeweler, she pretended she couldn't remember. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of having a reaction to it, so I just let it slide for a couple of days. A couple days pass and I ask her about it again, and she's super vague, still pretending she can't remember which jeweler, and saying she's too busy to go pick it up anytime soon. So I said, wow, I really feel for that jeweler. Hope nothing happens to her. She asked what I meant, and I told her that my superstitious Brazilian grandmother had performed some traditional ritual on it that's usually known to curse anyone who takes or handles the ring other than the owner. She looked uneasy and asked me a couple more questions about this ritual, and I made some story up about how my mother's ring had been taken by a burglar who was crushed by a pillar of cement on his way out of the house. I totally made this entire ritual up, and I do have a Brazilian grandmother, but obviously she didn't do some ritual to my ring. The next day, my fiancé told me that while I was out that she was there to clean up a bit, and lo and behold, I get home, after she'd already left, and find my ring where I'd left it. It didn't look any cleaner than it had before. A week later, I receive an abusive call from her saying she'd been in a minor car accident, and she was blaming me and my witch doctor grandmother, saying she was now cursed for having touched it. I passed the phone to my fiancé, who tried to calm her down, but she was hysterical. I told my fiancé what I told her, and he scolded me a bit because we both know how she is, and I should have known she'd react this way. It's been a further week since then, and she refuses to talk to me and keeps slandering me to my fiancé. Overall, he sort of recognizes how ridiculous she's being, but the drama of the situation is making me wonder if the whole curse tale was taking it a bit too far. So, am I the jerk? Update. Fiancé and I have had a big chat, and he's admitted he has to step up when it comes to his mother. He retrieved her key an hour ago, and he told her not to worry about the curse because it would have no effect on anyone who touched it without malicious intent. I mean, our original poster got the result she wanted. At the end of the day, mother-in-law shouldn't be taking things that don't belong to her, especially the engagement ring. Who knows what she was actually planning to do with it? She clearly had some kind of sneaky intent behind all this. I don't think there's anything wrong with what our original poster did. I think they came up with a creative solution to the problem. And it's not our fault that mother-in-law stole it to begin with and believes in this kind of thing. She can't be mad at our original poster when she's going and pulling crap like this. My husband suggested I stop buying formula for our baby instead of canceling his streaming services. I, female 32, am the breadwinner and have a toddler and a 9-month-old baby. Their needs are never-ending, and everything I buy is expensive. My husband, male 37, is unemployed, but uses part of my salary for his subscription and paid streaming services, which cost about $80 a month for Hulu Premium, Netflix, HBO, Amazon, ESPN Plus, and more. I keep finding myself coming up short with money. I kept neglecting buying hygiene products and have only one pair of shoes that look decent. I can't remember the last time I bought something nice for myself, and keep feeling guilty just thinking of going shopping for stuff that's necessary. I sat him down for a discussion and told him his subscriptions are taking money that I can't keep paying for when I have other responsibilities. I asked him to choose one channel, and he threw a fit, calling me ridiculous to think streaming services are the reason I'm always short on money, and blamed it on the expensive and unnecessary makeup he calls fake up. I got angry and said that he needed to respect that makeup is part of my personality, and I won't quit buying and wearing it. He said that I was trying to financially control him, since I got offended when he pointed out that I waste money on makeup and explained that he cannot and will not be bought with money no matter how desperate he is. I said, okay, then let me cancel all the streaming services and keep one, till he can pay for them once he finds a job. But he refused and said since he's the stay-at-home parent, then those streaming services are a right and not a privilege, and I should keep paying for them without complaining since he's staying with our sons all day, and it's taxing just like my job. The final straw was when he suggested I stop buying formula and go back to breastfeeding, since it's unnecessary and expensive. I was floored and was seething. I lashed out at him, asking if he literally thought canceling formula is better than his precious subscriptions. Also, I work. I have no time to breastfeed. He said that I was pushing him, but I told him he no longer has the choice, and I'll just stop paying for all his channels and subscriptions altogether, which had him reply that I was being unfair and unappreciative of his efforts. He stormed off after calling me controlling and kept cold shouldering me. Am I the jerk? Edit. No, he left his previous job due to issues with his employer. He struggled with finding a job in his field and refused to work in other related fields, saying his dignity won't let him, since he worked hard for his degree. My makeup gets replaced every few months. It normally costs about $50, but that's every few months, not every month. I stopped breastfeeding for health issues and now work, but he never stopped criticizing my decision to use formula, calling it a waste of money when I could push past the pain and provide our son with real benefits. Also, I still do the majority of the work around the apartment. I hate to say it, but your husband just sounds lazy and wants to sit around and watch TV all day. I get it. There's a lot of stuff on a lot of different streaming services that you want to check out. But I think you realize when you scale back to just one, there's a lot of content on just that one. More than enough to keep you occupied, especially if you have other stuff you're supposed to be doing around the house. As for not being willing to find a job that isn't in his field, sorry, you've got 2 kids. It's a lot better than sitting around not doing anything. At least you'll be contributing to your family income. You'd rather be jobless than have a job somewhere else that is at least giving you some money. You can always keep looking for a job in your field in the meantime, but at least have something coming in. He talks about his pride and dignity, but he has no problem mooching off his wife and complaining when he doesn't get his way. If you really cared and had that pride that you talk about, you'd have pride in providing for your family, whether that's working your normal job or working at a fast food chain. You do what needs to be done, and that's what you take pride in. I banned my sister-in-law's friend from my house for wearing revealing clothes around my husband. I, 23-year-old female, have a husband, 24-year-old male. He has a sister, 25-year-old female, who he's extremely close to. Me and her have gotten along since my husband first introduced me to her, and I actually consider her my sister. Recently, she's started living with us. She was supposed to get married to her fiancé, but last second he canceled the wedding, and she had nowhere to live since he was her support system financially. We took her in while she gets back up on her feet. Well, since she lives with us, we allow her to bring over her friends. One friend, 24-year-old female in particular, sleeps over a lot. I really don't mind since sister-in-law's room is in the attic and her friend doesn't really come out of her room often. I have noticed though that when my husband is out, she comes out of the attic. She would wear big hoodies and long baggy pants, but as soon as my husband comes back, she'll go back up into the attic and come back wearing booty shorts and a basically transparent shirt which shows everything. I thought I was overreacting and didn't do anything about it, but the other day my husband came to me shaking. When I asked him what was wrong, he basically cried to me that he felt extremely uncomfortable and angry. When I asked for a reason, he said that every time sister-in-law's friend comes over, she literally flirts non-stop with him when no one's around. Once apparently, she even took off her pants, and when he told her not to, she said that she just needed some air. The reason why he was so upset this time was because a few minutes earlier she'd tried to grab his hand. My husband hates physical touch with anyone he's not comfortable with, hence that was a breaking point for him. After a long discussion between the two of us, we told sister-in-law how we didn't want her friend over anymore because she was making us both uncomfortable. Sister-in-law freaked out, saying that it wasn't her friend's fault that my husband was attracted to her, and started saying we were both some sexist jerks. I feel really bad, honestly. I'm a big women's activist, and this has really made me feel like sexist women. Also, sister-in-law refuses to look at me now, and I'm scared our relationship is ruined. I also feel bad because I know sister-in-law's friend was a big support system for her during these hard times, and I might have taken that away from her. Am I the jerk? No, I'm sorry. Sexist or not, at the end of the day, male, female, she's taking her clothes off around him. It's inappropriate. By the sound of this, she knows exactly what she's doing. And I don't really know why she feels the need to do it with your husband. Your husband seems very faithful to you and doesn't want anything to do with this woman, which might be why she's coming on a little harder. She's taking it as a challenge. At the end of the day, it's your home, and if you guys aren't feeling comfortable with how she's behaving in your house, you're allowed to say that she's not allowed to be there anymore. This clearly isn't an issue with any of her other friends, so obviously you're not coming out of the blue on this. There's something about this girl that seems off, and I don't blame you for not wanting her around your husband. Game Shop gets a 1-star review for throwing out jerk. The owner has a response though.
Tonight I came to Adventure Games expecting to play D&D. It was my third time joining a group of individuals I'd come to like, and I always enjoyed our sessions. I chose to leave shortly after arriving, however, as the owner decided to shout at us and act as a child in front of his whole establishment regarding a conversation we had last week that he deemed inappropriate. He made more than one patron feel quite uncomfortable, I'm sure. He was gauche and didn't care to hear our side of the story, even though some of the group has been playing there for years without incidents, and now they're no longer welcome. If that's the power of a review, then I hope this one stings, because neither I nor my friends will be frequenting your place of business any longer.
You're correct. We did deem the conversation your D&D group had last week about beating up women and getting around a strip club's no-touch rule so that you could assault those women as inappropriate. We have a strict no-tolerance policy about such matters, and both players who engaged in the conversation admitted they were in the wrong. Their actions were a clear violation of our store's code of conduct, and the rules set forth by Wizards of the Coast. So there was no need for us to hear anyone else's side of the story. I'm sorry that the employee's reaction made you uncomfortable. Maybe you can begin to understand how the 13-year-old girl and her father felt when they were put in such an uncomfortable situation they got up and left during the middle of the session. We have continued to have problems with this group for several years, which I'm guessing they forgot to mention to you. However, those problems pale in comparison to the horrible things that were said by not only the players in the group, but by the DM, who's supposed to be leading the group and being responsible for the session. Since we work very hard to make our space one where everyone, especially women, feels safe and welcome, we feel it's in everyone's best interest that you and your friends do not return to our store. It's funny how people frame the reviews this way, that they did nothing wrong and that the owners or employees were just being completely irrational. But they always leave out stuff like this, of course. While I'm not condoning this behavior in any way, if this was a session that was taking place privately at your own home, then you do whatever you want to do. But you need to understand that when you're out in public and there are other people around, they can hear what you say and have their own feelings about it. There are already rules set down by the store owners and the actual creators of the game to avoid these kinds of situations. Yes, D&D is a game where you can do whatever you want, but that doesn't mean you should, especially when there are other people around judging your actions. My girlfriend tried to tell me that my daughter's getting too fat, but I told her to mind her own business. This is a family issue. I, 39-year-old male, and my girlfriend, 37-year-old female, have dated for 2 years. She's great, and most importantly, my daughter, 16-year-old female, likes her too. So, thank God. On Thursday night, my girlfriend was over at our place having dinner. My daughter mentioned how much she hated gym class, and how it sucked and how much she wished she didn't have to take it. Now, I'm not an idiot. I know my daughter struggles in gym class because, technically, she's in the threshold of obese. She's 5'6" and probably around 190 to 195 pounds. So I've put 2 and 2 together. Dinner ends and my daughter goes to her room, and my girlfriend tells me she wants to talk about what my daughter said at dinner. She mentioned that we need to buckle down and get serious about her weight. I told her I was not in the mood for this. She gets in close to me and whispers that my daughter basically admitted to becoming too fat for gym and out of shape, and asked me why I was okay with it. I told her again I wasn't in the mood for this talk. She asked if I would be in the mood when my daughter's 250 pounds is a senior and can't fit in the desk. I said that won't happen. She said I can't guarantee that. I just told her to stay out of this, as it was a family issue. She got upset and went home. Am I the jerk? This sounds more like our original poster just doesn't want to deal with the problem at hand. I understand it's an awkward conversation to have, and not something you ever want to bring up with your teenage daughter. After all, self-esteem issues and self-image issues are a very big deal at that age. I don't think that our original poster's girlfriend had any kind of malicious intent with her comment though. It sounds like you guys have been together for a while and she's a good person and she's concerned about what's happening to your daughter. I hate to say it, but if this is the weight that she's already gotten to, then that shows that she needs to change something in her diet and routine. Otherwise, it's only going to continue to get worse. At the end of the day, this comes down to a health issue. And I understand that your girlfriend's not technically family, but it sounds like she considers you guys family. And she at least cares enough to say something. Maybe she should have just let it go when the original poster didn't want to talk about it. Maybe this was just a bad day. But it's not a problem that's just gonna go away. At some point, that conversation needs to happen. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.